Hey guys, thanks for joining me. My name is Mel and I'll be taking you through quite a slow, grounded, stretchy class. So it's one of those classes that props are always encouraged, especially if you have like a big cushion or a blanket or something, just to help soften areas where your joints might be connected with the ground and anything that kind of pops up that needs a bit of comfort. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start in a seat or in child's pose today. So taking whatever option works better for you. You chose in child's pose, knees out wide perhaps, or knees together. Resting your head on your hands, or reaching your arms forward. Whatever option you've chosen, just using this time to close down the eyes, soften the face, just soften your intention. What I want to do here is start the practice off without creating more tension in the body. Sometimes when we're feeling a little tight or if we've got a lot going on, just the idea of moving or stretching can bring on this engagement that we really don't want in this class. Instead, we want to practice relaxing the muscles, releasing tension in the body. So to do that, we move from a place of nurture, softness. You're directly trying to let go of that tension. If you can feel any tension in any particular part of the body right now, bring all of your awareness and attention there just to try to soften that particular part. To help us do that, we're just going to take a few really deep breaths in and out through the nose. Maybe each breath is a little longer than the one before. Maybe you feel more expansion in the body or more release in the exhale. And if it's possible, in and out through the nose. Maybe an ujjayi breath is in your practice and it helps you release a little bit of tension or maybe build up a bit of energy to move into your practice. A deeper inhalation and exhalation, that little constriction in the throat. Your breath could be audible here, or you could keep it quiet. It's really up to you. Let's just take one more full round of breath. And if you're in child's pose, the end of your breath, you can start to move forward onto all fours. If you're in an upright position, just gently start to open your eyes, give your shoulders a little bit of a roll, and we'll all meet on all fours. So moving into our cat-cow prep, so take the time to set up. Plant the hands, plant the knees. Your gaze can be between your hands. Some people like to look slightly forward. And then just move into your spine. So inhale, lift and open your heart, lifting the tail, dropping the belly. And then exhale, that slow curl of the spine towards your ceiling or the sky, and then dropping your head. Let's do that again. Big breath in. Feel that lift of the heart, and then exhale, hugging the heart in towards the spine. And again, breath in and breath out. It's coming into your neutral spine now, just for a moment. We're just going to move into a little bit of a lion's dance, which is just essentially moving your body in a way that feels nice. So big circles perhaps with the hips, sending the hips way back or forward. Maybe you want to stick with cat-cows. Maybe you're moving into more of seal kind of child's pose variations, or just doing more of those rotations of the hips. You're going in one direction, maybe switch the direction now. Get your shoulders involved. You can get quite vigorous with this. And then coming back into that neutral spine, adjusting the hands and knees if they've moved about. We're going to tuck the left toes into the ground just for a bit of stability here. And then extend your right leg back. You can point the toes or flex the foot and draw your shoulders back. And if this feels too much, just drop the foot on the earth and push the heel back. Get into those hamstrings. If you're okay like this and you want to lift up your left hand, go ahead, reaching it forward. Then turn your left thumb down, reach your left hand back, bend your right knee, try to grab hold of your foot. Just a gentle pull. Take a big breath in. And then letting your left hand come back onto the earth. Let's slow and steady start to pull the right knee towards your right wrist. Now this is where you might need a prop. Bring your right foot over just in front of your left knee, around your left hip, and slide your left hip back, coming into half pigeon. Now I've got the foot right back, and I would encourage you to do that, so that right foot back around the hip. Maybe bring something underneath your right hip here. But if you look at your left leg, encouraging the leg to be long and straight, the knee and top of the foot pointing down. And then from here, grip the earth, pull your heart forward, take a big breath in. Stay up high or come onto your elbows. From here, you could even clasp your hands and release your head onto your hands. Or maybe you want to stay higher. Maybe you want to completely relax. Potentially using a cushion here as well for your head and your elbows. Bolster even better. And just take 3 more deep breaths. And slow and steady, start to come back up onto your hands if you've come down. Hands underneath your shoulders. Start to lift the hips slightly, so engaging a little bit here as you slide your left knee forward, so it kind of comes again to that right foot, and then pull the right foot over, send it back, find your way onto hands and knees, and just move your hips from side to side, or maybe you want to come into a wide-legged child's pose. Just take a few moments doing whatever feels right there. And when you're ready, coming back onto all fours, this time we'll tuck the right toes into the ground for that stability. And extend the left leg back, pushing either the left heel back or pointing the toe down. Always know the option to tuck the toe and drive that heel back. If you're okay like this, you can keep your leg there and just work with that space, or bring the right hand forward, turn the right thumb down, bring the right hand back, bend your left knee, try to catch that foot. Doesn't need to be a big movement. We're just going to open up just a little here, pulling the heart forward still. And then letting go of the right hand. From here, start to pull that left knee forward, bringing it behind the left wrist. The foot around the right hip. And then start to slow and steady slide that right leg back, coming onto the top of the foot and the knees. So have a look at the right leg. Use anything you need here. A block perhaps for underneath the hip, or just a cushion or blanket, anything that will give a little bit of extra support. And then coming forward only when it feels good. Remembering we can stay up high, just thinking about that lengthening, or dropping onto the elbows. Maybe relaxing, closing your eyes, bringing awareness to your hips and just noticing if they feel even, or if you're kind of rolled over to the left a little. If you've been sitting down a lot, this pose often gets into all of those places that get a little bit tight from sitting. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And slowly, when you come to the end of your 3rd breath, Making your way back up onto your hands, we're going to take the time. Our transitions are just as important as the poses. So really focus all of that energy on moving the body mindfully. As you lift the pelvis, you can start to bring that back knee in. And then from here, you're sliding the left knee back, maybe coming onto hands and knees, or maybe it's going to feel good to come straight back into child's pose. If this is feeling too much for the knees, of course, you'll naturally go to modify, I hope, anyway. So anytime you feel anything that's too much in the knees, please back off. There's nothing in your knees that needs to be stretched. So we just want to move the things around the knees. Once you're ready to find stillness on your hands and your knees, let's tuck your toes and we're going to find a downward facing dog. So pressing into the hands, lifting the tail, bending the knees, and just pedaling out here. So as much movement as you like. I encourage a lot. Just get a little bit more dynamic here as you press the mat away. And just a few big breaths. And when you come to the end of your next breath, now just bringing the right leg forward. So we're going to do this however it feels best for you. A big bend in the knees perhaps, and just a little step of the right foot forward. As we start to get it forward, we're going to drop back onto the right knee, bringing it behind that right wrist, and pull the left leg in, dropping onto the outside of our right hip now. So our legs look a little bit different. Come into a seat, and we're just going to keep the left knee pointing out to the side, adjusting the left foot so that that left leg comes into more of a right angle. Now, if that's feeling pretty intense, pull that foot in at any time towards your sit bone. With this right foot, what we're going to try to do is bring it forward so that the right shin bone matches up parallel with the front of the mat. So we have these really nice right angles here. And then from this position, you're going to start to lengthen the heart forward and maybe stay up on your hands. You could bring a block or a cushion under that right knee for extra support, or come forward onto your elbows. Taking your time to get into this pose, a little flex in that right foot often helps keep the knee joints safe as well. Once again, any pain in the knees, we're going to come out of this pose or pull the foot back towards the leg. Coming into a thread the needle pose stretches a similar part of the body. So if you want to come onto your back and do this reclined, that is an option too. I'm just going to take 5 more deep breaths here. And these breaths, if you can think about pushing that knee out and relaxing that left hip down a little. The deeper the breath, the more directed the breath, the more you might feel like you can let go into this pose a little too. Trying to release tension with each breath. And just take our final breath down here. And then start to come back up onto the hands, leaving our legs like this, or adjusting if we need to, but keeping them more or less the shape. Walking the hands over to the right hand side now. So you might notice this left knee starts to come forward. We'll try to keep it where it is, but if it comes forward, that's okay too. And we're just going to lean over to the right. We might once again come onto the hands. And as you move onto your hands, pushing the left knee down, encouraging your heart to move towards the right side of the mat. And often we don't need to go deeper if we're creating that line of energy or connection through the body. So the left knee pushes, the hands grip, and the heart pulls away from the hips. Although if you feel like you need more, you might even come onto your elbows and twist more around to the right hand side. Once you've found your pose, take 5 deep breaths. emphasis on that deepening, planting the seed to release the tension. Try not to build it up in the body. Final breath here. And slowly start to lift back up onto your hands if you've come down. Start to rotate yourself back over that right leg. And then from here, we're just pulling the heels towards the midline a little bit, just to kind of come out of that. If this is kind of a release for you, you might want to stay like this. If you need to bring the legs forward straight away, go ahead. We're going to stay in our seat, but start to adjust. So as we roll onto our sit bones now, the right knee will lift up. We're going to start to bring the right foot forward. And as we do that, we're going to travel the left knee forward, coming into a half hero's pose, a half virasana. This is where sitting on something like a block or a blanket might really come into its own. So we're going to ground the right foot so the right knee points up. And then from here, start to bring the left foot close towards that left hip so the left knee points forward. Now, this is where you might sit on your left heel or bring a cushion or something quite substantial underneath your sit bones here. You want to feel the stretch across the front of the left leg. And then from here, just bring your hands back. Try to open your heart here, leaning into the hands, splay the fingers out. Maybe look up if it feels good for the neck. You could drop your head back. Or for some, little tuck of the sit bones forward, maybe coming on to the elbows. You can stop at any place. You can stay on your elbows. You could lie on your back. Just try to avoid that left knee lifting up too much. And if you're needing a little bit more, you're going to pull the right knee in, interlace the hands, hug the knee in. Once you've found the pose and you can close your eyes and find that stillness, 5 deep breaths. And this is the pose that we might feel quite intensely, so just scale to where you need it to be. Or breathe a little deeper, move into that space with an observant mindset. When you come to the end of your next breath, being mindful if you have taken the reclined option, coming out of this pose can be turned into a little bit of a back bend. So being really mindful of that. Let's drop the right foot down, hugging the elbows in nice and close. Start to wiggle them in, lifting up. Use your hands for support. Lean the right knee over to the right hand side and continue pulling the left knee forward and over to the right as well. Roll onto your sit bones. Both knees point towards the ceilings now and bring your hands behind you, feet slightly wider, so about mat width. Just drop knees from side to side. From here, we're just going to extend both legs, coming into a forward fold. So taking the legs nice and long, you can bend your knees, you can lift your toes, maybe find a bit of height through the arms. Take a full breath in, and then bringing your arms out wide, either reaching for the toes or wrapping your arms around the backs of your knees, softening your belly to your thighs. You can hold your feet. You can keep up nice and high, really thinking of pulling the heart forward. And then just releasing the head. 5 deep breaths. You find the end of your next breath. Slowly start to roll your body back upright. Pull your right knee in now, pulling it in nice and tight. And then taking the right foot over the left leg. Point your right toes forward out to the left-hand side and bring the left hand back. So you're lifting up the left hip and drop it down. So you're leaning more over to one side. Those left toes can point in the same direction as the right. Now pull the right foot a little bit closer to the left hip and take your left hand out potentially a little wide out to the side. From here, you can just hold that right knee, just leaning into your left hand. This is where you might want to stay. Otherwise, what we're going to do is press more into the left hand. Like I said, you might just want to keep sliding it out. Push into that right knee as you push it away. And just try to squeeze the shoulder blades, open up your heart. Taking a full breath in. And then letting that go, sliding the left elbow down if that feels good, reaching that right hand all the way towards the back of the mat. You can come up onto those fingertips and drop the head. And take just one more full breath. And then slowly make your way back upright. To take that right foot away from the side, bringing it forward, pulling the left foot in. Let's cross the legs here. From here, just a simple cross-legged position. Hold on to the knees, lift the heart, inhale, and then roll your spine back. Just a little exhale, tuck your chin. Inhale, coming up. Now, if you are okay moving into down dog from here, go ahead. Otherwise, moving your legs to the side. If you want to, rolling onto your hands, sending your knees back. You can move through cat-cow if that feels good, or just push back up, downward facing dog. Pedal your feet. Bend the knees, drop shoulders, move the hips, all of the things. You might feel slightly different on one side of the body now. And then when you're ready, we're going to pull that left knee forward. So from here, you can bend your knees. You can hop that foot forward as much as you need to, sliding the left knee behind the left wrist, and then dropping onto the right knee, but pulling it forward. So we can drop onto the sit bones. So now the right knee is pointing out to the side. So that right thigh bone is parallel with the top of the mat. Bringing the right foot back so the shin bone is parallel with the side of the mat. And once again, you bring the heels in as much as you need to. But if you want to, bringing that left foot forward so your left shin bone is parallel with the front of the mat. And you have quite a boxy right angle look with the legs. Hands come forward, staying up high, bringing something under the left knee perhaps, or coming onto your elbows. With every pose like this, just take that time to really feel into your hips. So you might actually feel like you need to open up through one of the shoulders. You might need to physically hold on to one of the hips or rest the hand on the small of the back just to feel into that space. Disconnection from our hips and parts of the body is really common. So if you're feeling like you can't really focus that energy, it's all about the practice. We're not trying to get it right every time. We're trying to move into a space where we grow, basically. Let's take 5 full breaths. When you come to the end of your next breath, slow and steady, focus on your transition. Come up onto your hands. Keep your legs like this or adjust the feet if you need to and start to walk over to the left. So from here, you'll bring your hands down and really think about pushing the right knee down so behind you so you feel that pressure towards the back, but your heart comes forward. And it's this resistance that really gets into those parts of the back we want to feel. Try to lengthen your heart. Option to stay here or come onto your elbows. Just add a little bit more of a twist here. Keep encouraging the pressure through the right knee, the heart forward. Using any support you need around you. And then finding that stillness. 5 deep breaths. When you find the end of your next breath, trying not to rush, we move back towards the front. Do that little adjustment of pulling the knee in, pulling the foot back in. Take the time. And then when you're ready, transitioning into that half hero's pose, half virasana. So you start to lift the left knee. Simultaneously, you're pulling the right knee forward. And you're trying to come onto the top of that right foot, being mindful that you might need to sit on your heel. You might need to bring a block or a blanket or a cushion underneath you. Ideally, the right knee is forward, the left foot grounded, and we start to bring ourselves back. So maybe leaning into the hands and expanding through the heart space. Or maybe you might come onto your elbows, maybe onto your back. And if you're on your back, you might feel inclined to pull the knee up. Wherever you've got to, know that you've got those deep breaths here. We're stretching into a major muscle group. Our main leg mover, it's got a big job. So the stretch will always feel slightly more intense here. 5 of your fullest breaths. See if you can release through the hips and shoulders or the face, wherever you tend to bring that tension in. And just focus on the inhale and the exhale. When you come to the end of your next breath, really mindful about coming out of this one, dropping the foot, using the elbows to hug them in, lifting up, taking the time you need. Dropping over to the left-hand side, pulling the right foot forward, taking the feet out wide, hands behind you, and just rock your knees from side to side, or anything that feels good for you. You might want to find stillness. You might not feel like being dynamic after poses. And that is just as valuable as this movement. It's about finding the right rebound for you. Coming to stillness when you're ready, though, once again extending your legs. Let's come into that wide leg forward, that closed leg forward fold. So knees can be bent. We can prop ourselves up. Let's find the extension through the arms. Take the inhale, and then a nice big swan dive towards the legs. Being mindful we might not go far, but keep pulling the heart forward. You could hold your toes, even if you're just getting there. Wrapping the feet or bringing the arms around the backs of the knees, letting the belly connect with the thighs. If your neck is feeling any tension here, it might be nice to move the head a little. And take just a couple more breaths. And slowly start to lift up. This time we're pulling the left knee in with us and hopping the left foot over to the right. So as we take it over, we're going to bring the hands over to the right and do a little shuffle of the hips up. And this just helps us get onto the outside of the right leg. Pull the left foot as close as you can get to the hip, toes pointing forward, and start to reach that right hand away. Now from here, you can just hug that knee in or think about pushing it away and opening the heart, squeezing the shoulders. If this is still feeling good, take another full breath in here and then start to bring that hand over towards the back of the mat. So we've still got that pressure through the left foot on the right hand side, but we're reaching the hands towards the back corner. Head can hang, we can just feel that pressure. Drive the left foot forward. Take another full breath. And then start to come back towards center. Taking the time here, instead of coming into cross-legged, this time we're going to bring the heels of the feet together, the knees out wide, coming into our Baddha Konasana. Hold the fronts of your knees, lifting your heart up, squeeze your shoulder blades, inhale, roll your spine back, exhale, tuck your chin. Inhale, rolling back up onto your sit bones, leaning forward, holding the feet or keeping the hands on the knees. You can cup your feet and try to release down, dropping your forehead as low as it wants to go. Just think about hanging the head. Take 5 full breaths in this pose. When you come to the end of your next breath, start to lift the spine, slow and steady, drawing your knees in, lifting them up, leaning back. Just roll knees from side to side. You can roll right onto the outsides of your hips. And just do anything here that feels good. Maybe you want to pull one knee up, take the knees wide. And then coming on to your back when you're ready. So when you're ready, rolling down and hugging your knees in towards your belly. Move from side to side. Maybe make some circles. And from here, taking your feet back down onto the earth, but as wide as your mat so your knees are pointing up. From here, we're going to take the knees over towards the left. And as we do that, we're encouraging the right knee to come forward and letting the left knee come out to the side. You can rest your hands on the hip and the knee. You can stay like this, or if it feels good to pick up the left foot, flex it, hook it, and just bring it on top of the right knee. Adding a little bit of pressure, you can push the foot down, encourage the knee down, and then expand the arms out. Take a couple of breaths here. And slowly come back to center, releasing your left foot if it's on the right knee, lifting the knees up and just dropping them over to the other side. Might require you to lift your hips and almost lean more on the outside of the right hip. Play around with the movement if you need to. Sometimes it doesn't quite make sense with the cues for all of us, and we need to really just give our body the space to find the pose in a safe way. Feel free to pick up the right foot, flex it, and place it on the knee, encouraging that pressure forward. Take a couple of breaths. And then slowly coming back to center, draw the knees back in. Give them a nice big squeeze. Maybe a little twist from side to side, so you could drop the knees over to the left, open up the right arm, hands on the knees, relaxing the right shoulder down. And then coming back to center, dropping the knees over to the right, reaching the left arm out, looking over the left hand, using the right hand to support the knees down. And then once you're ready, start to move your body into Shavasana. So if you want to come back to hugging the knees and moving, or if there's any pose you feel you need to do, it could feel really nice to come into a plow or an inversion here. And I'll encourage you to do that. If you have a wall close by, legs up the wall is going to feel pretty good for this Shavasana. So to do that, we're going to come really close to the wall so that one of our hips presses right up against it. So we're sideways on the wall, and then start to come down. And as we do that, we roll up so that our legs start to lift towards the ceiling, but our sit bones, you'll notice, are quite close to the wall here. That's why we move in from the side. If using a wall isn't an option, you can do this without the wall. You could also just come into Shavasana. Otherwise, legs up the wall, arms can rest on the body or come out wide. Try to relax the feet, closing your eyes and relaxing your jaw. Once again, coming back to those big, deep breaths. I'll encourage you to stay your legs going up towards the ceiling against the wall for as long as you need. Be mindful that this is quite an energetic pose, and sometimes an inversion like this doesn't actually help us rest. It really depends. Sometimes it can actually cultivate an energetic boost, and that might be actually what you're needing. So just be mindful, move with the feeling that you're experiencing, because nothing is wrong when it comes to yoga and what we're feeling. I really thank you for joining me today. My name is Mel. Namaste.